Cheers.
I wanna give you some bad
That's
advice.
very...
You heard it right. Bad advice.
So, for people who don't know you, do you want to do a little introduction?
Sure. My name is Mertlik. I'm the co-founder of Get-Building, formerly known as Get-Coding. And I also do some consulting and stuff on the side.
Nice. Awesome. And I'd like to ask this first, which is, what is this crazy idea you have that you run your companies with this idea, but if you say it out loud, people think you're crazy and that it's bad advice and you shouldn't do it, but you do it anyway?
Yeah, I feel like one piece of bad advice that I have that I don't think I give it to people.
We don't give it?
I don't think I...
Now you are.
I guess so. But I say that I like to grow the company at a human speed.
What does that mean?
Well, I'll first, I guess, tell you where it comes from. I was once watching a documentary about the PCT, the Pacific Coast Trail, which is Pacific Crest Trail. Is it crest or coast?
Jamie.
Don't know. I figured it out. PCT. That goes from the Mexican border to the Canadian border. And during this, the guy that was documenting his journey was saying how he likes to travel at a human speed, because that way he really gets to appreciate every environment you're in, right? Because when you're going through, from San Diego to Vancouver, you're in the desert, you're in the Sierras, you're in the rainforests of Washington and all that. And if you were driving or flying, you wouldn't experience all the environment. So he likes traveling at a human speed, and I sort of took that to heart, and sort of further thinking about how to run a business, how I like to run a business, how me, not being influenced by anybody else, but like what do I want? What do I want my life, my job, my business to look like? I realized that I like the human speed aspect, that it grows how it grows. I think I prefer the organic growth of not putting pressure on the business and letting it figure out what it is, by being there and it being slow and you trying things out and seeing, oh, okay, well, maybe that doesn't work. But then you speak with a bunch of people and you realize, oh, maybe it does work, but it's slightly different like this. And when you put the pressure and you're flying on the plane, you fly over that.
That's true.
And so I think that's the human pace, growing a business at a human pace. I think that's where it comes from.
What does that mean in a business specifically? Does it relate mostly to sales and marketing, growth? Or does it also relate to technical things, you think?
I don't know. That's a long question for you. Yeah.
I think it does apply to technical things as well, to grow. I guess it would be to build at a human pace, which is if you talk to these people who are genuinely interested in software development, as an art, they enjoy software development, they want to build things very carefully and nicely, optimize this function there, even though there may not be a business case for it. But growing at let's say a 10x pace, is you prioritize projects, you prioritize the stuff within the project. There's a deadline, you finish the project, the deadline comes, it's done, you move on to the next one. I think that's against the sort of software developer nature. So I would say, coding at a human pace would be you just work on the stuff that you enjoy, and you refine polish the parts you polish, more like an open source, maybe open source project.
Yeah, it just flows. Life is really busy right now, and Shit happens. And, if you're growing at a human pace, if you're building at a human pace, well, it just slows down for a little bit.
You're not gonna force a certain outcome on it.
Yeah.
Is what you mean.
Yeah. This is the goal. Let's aim towards it. Well, I don't know. I think that's pretty bad advice. I think what's really important is, I think, to establish too that what I'm looking to get out of the business is probably different than other people. Like specifically with Get-Building, and we actually talked about this early on, is that we want Get-Building or Get-Coding to be a project that we're sort of like forever working on.
Mm-hmm.
And that, it's a good business and it pays us a decent salary that we can survive.
There's no like exit strategy. Valuation
that we're chasing, nothing like that. It's just like it's a good business, it pays a salary. But even like more importantly that well, no more important, but so it pays us a decent salary. It allows us to do other things. And if all the other things that we do fail, we can look back at what we've done at Get-Building and be like, okay, this was good. This was worth it. This wasn't just some sort of a shallow B2B SaaS, that you build, but like it's we have tangibly helped change people's lives and help them achieve their goals. They wanted to, change their careers and in the future start a career entrepreneurship, build something. We can look back at that and feel good. So if you want to build a massive company, I think building at human speed is probably not a realistic advice. It's bad advice for that,
I wonder if there are any massive like tech companies, and not from 50 years ago, like that are kind of recent, that took it, at the human speed and were still massive. I wonder, I don't know. If you know, let us know. But I have a question. This idea of like the take it at a human speed, the growth at a human speed. If you take like 100 entrepreneurs off the road, like random, not even tech, I don't think the majority would agree with that, right?
Yeah.
They're looking for that massive thing. Why do you think you have this different approach? Is this something you learned, or is this something
I think I'm late.
As a kid with this idea, or
I think I'm inherently lazy. I do wonder if it comes from that. I don't know if I'm lazy. I'm probably a little lazy, but
I wouldn't say you're lazy. I think you work a healthy amount. So I don't think it's necessarily laziness or
I don't know how. I
maybe it's interest.
It's interest, yeah, definitely is driven by that. But I think I got that idea from having a diversity of friends and people surrounding me. That it wasn't just an echo chamber of startup people. Maybe, what actually might be? I haven't thought of this very much, but I'm from the Czech Republic. I'm European. And that's sort of Europeans are, the
anti-capitalist sort of.
Well, I don't know if that, but it's more so they work to live. Whether live to work. Work isn't the most important thing. So I think inheriting some of that, having a diverse group of friends and sort of looking at a lot of the people in the tech sector and them creating the startup founder or identifying themselves as startup founders, that's my fucking identity. I just always look at what the dude, like early on, I think I drank the Kool-Aid and work long hours overnight all the time, like, and that's the priority. And or speaking with some people in Toronto, they were like, oh, like my relationship with my partner is not important. This is my business a priority. I want to build this massive thing. I'm like, what the actual fuck? Like, you put business and starting a business and that above relationship with friends and family, and that you say that, yeah, I've heard this before, like, make sure that all your friends are like startup super ambitious, make sure that everyone is like this fucking super driven.
If you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, man, I was like, what's the point? And, like, oh, wow, all right, so, you're going to spend 10 years building a startup, and sure, if you were one of the, 5% of founders that grow the company and exit, plus you make a bunch of money, great. The amount of bridges you burn along the way, and the way people look at you, this is one of these guys, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about Get-Building, because I don't know anything.
Wow.
I
Fire.
hear you're fired. You have the most handsome co-founder.
Wow.
Tell us about Get-Building. Rebrand from Get Coding.
Yeah.
The new initiatives.
Yeah.
They related to this idea or not? This idea of, I suppose they are somehow related to this idea of making it a human pace.
I think it's interest. I'll talk about that. But yeah, okay, so Get Coding, I guess I'll tell the story of Get Coding and then how it evolves into Get Building. Get Coding really started in 2019. I tried doing something in 2017 that was like nothing like what we do now. But yeah, it really started in 2019, where we wanted to do group classes with the vision of starting a boot camp. We wanted to start a boot camp because that was like the hottest thing on the block, and everybody, we just need more software developer, coding boot camps, design boot camps. Yeah, boot camps, everything boot camp that. Just shove a bunch of people into a room, make them code for 40 hours a week, and expect you make a bunch of really great coders in 3 months. Madness. And so we started doing that. We started with like group classes in person, and that was going well. I guess we had customers that were pretty happy.
It was fun. It was fun. It was fun to have people around, and
people were connecting and joking together. And then we were like, this is a good path, and like we're gonna build these courses, and then long term we're gonna make a boot camp, I guess. This was like an MVP. But then COVID hit, and we had to move things online. And we did group classes online, and most people didn't show up. And when they did, they turned off their cameras. It was just like we were talking to a gray block. And it was just, we hated it. I think the students hated it too. The last couple of weeks, and it was just shit. Yeah. And we were like, we're never going to do that ever again. Yeah. I remember saying that. And then, but we didn't know what to do.
Mm.
You were doing some like coaching. You were helping some of your friends do that, and just I like to tell the story of I was doing online course for like logo design or whatever, and I said, watch these videos and then submit this into the discussion, and then someone's gonna give you feedback. And I remember waiting a day, 2 days, a week, and I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear good job, bad job. And I was like, oh, fuck, it's not the content that's the problem, it's the feedback loop. Yeah, you realize it because you're already doing it. But your friend's like, oh, shit, no, that makes perfect sense.
But how do you, as a developer, if your friend asks you, hey, how do I learn how to code?
Yeah.
You go like, oh, let's sit down together and,
Yeah, pick a project and build code. The only way to learn how to code is by coding.
Yeah.
So here, let me help you get coding.
Wow.
The
Name, by the way.
the name is good, man. I like that. And yeah, and so that's how we started our coaching program, which we ran for 2019. Well, we're still around it, but we're in 2020 to like 2024 is when we started thinking about like, okay, what's going to happen, right? We had some bunch of government funding or, government contract to train so many people. And the ecosystem started shifting a little bit.
And this is right after the downturn
Yeah.
in like VC and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
2023, beginning of 2024, VCs have money locked up in companies that can't do an exit. And so just it sort of started shifting. Then you add AI to the top of it. There was like a paradigm, I guess, shift in the vibe in the tech sector, maybe with how things are going to go. And I remember, this was probably a bad call, but I remember reading a lot of people's stories on Reddit.
Yeah, you should stop with
I stopped doing it. But anyways, like we were running Get Coding and the training program, the 101, where we just train people and help them become junior software developers. And we're reliant on, the ecosystem being able to hire them.
Yeah.
Because we also, our pricing was fixed on them getting jobs. So, and then with the big paradigm shift, I think I don't know if we really talked about this, but I think I voiced it a little bit in some ways, but I don't know if I voiced it properly, but I felt helpless that what we're providing, and like, I know our training is great and the people that are coming are amazing, but like, that didn't feel enough for some reason to me. I wanted to make sure that they're successful, that we're not dependent on the ecosystem.
Yeah, there was a period in time in Newfoundland where like there was not a single like junior role, and we had our students who were like waiting for months to get an interview. And that was a weird dark period.
Yeah, so that's I think one element of it. Then also we tried expanding to Nova Scotia and to Atlantic provinces, which proved to be really difficult and really expensive, and we need boots on the ground, but we realized we don't really have margins. So, we were rethinking what's going to happen with Get Coding.
Growth. Yeah.
Yeah. How do we grow Get Coding? What are the next steps? We thought that it was growing to a new province. We realized that that's probably not the case. And we were thinking like there was like three options for us to go. Either we grow the number of students. We tried that in Nova Scotia. We didn't have the margins for that. And to hire people there because there needs to be boots on the ground. We couldn't really increase the price because we wanted to keep the program accessible. Most of our students are underemployed or unemployed. And we're not a designated learning institution, so people can't take like regular student loans. So we wanted to keep it accessible. So then the only other option for growth was diversification. We also care heavily about people being successful after the program. And like, if we grow the numbers in Newfoundland, well, they won't be able to find jobs. So clearly that's not an option, right? So
yeah, I think there are a lot of self-inflicted constraints that we put on ourselves. I think for good and right reasons, which is we don't want to increase the price.
Yeah,
we want everybody to be able to afford it. We don't want to graduate them without them finding jobs. We want to make sure they also find jobs. Right? And we want this to be the best program ever.
Yeah,
and also make money for us.
Yeah, a very noble mission, but yeah, I think I've said this to a bunch of people before, but I said that Get Coding had a great product, but a shit business.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the only way to fix it that we could come up with was diversification and it really starts like fitting together, I think, with I think why we wanted to start Get Building in the first place, and it just made a lot of sense. So what Get Building really is a more holistic approach to the growth, and sort of looking at what does a successful ecosystem, what does a person that is in an ecosystem need to succeed? So we identified 3 pillars that we think are necessary, that are either missing or not working really well in our perspective. So like, we're going to keep our great product, should business training program, coaching program, where we help people become great, driven software developers. The next pillar was community, which we felt like we needed to help stimulate a little bit, because I felt like, we felt like there was the kind of excitement sort of fizzled away, and everyone was siloed into,
especially after COVID.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be doing events. We have a great event coming up, and also looking at having a co-working or a builder space where, if you're looking to get, to sort of soak up some of that motivated energy of people wanting to do stuff and people pushing you to be doing stuff, you go there, and that's where you can get, recharged by others that are there. So the second pillar. The third pillar that, we haven't talked that much about, but I think it's pretty key, is, enabling more people to start things. So we're looking at this, I don't know exactly how to talk about it, but it's a fractional technical founding team-ish that takes a non-technical entrepreneur, connects them with a software developer, and their relationship gets coached by an experienced product / founder person and a technical person to ensure that their relationship works quite well, so they can be very productive from early on, that the non-technical entrepreneur understands how a tech product is built, and that way we create a better environment for non-technical folks to start things, because previously they outsourced to to either near seas or nearshore or offshore consulting companies, and build something, and like maybe they build it well, but
I haven't seen, but
they build you something that hasn't been proven. They build you many, many things and many, many features that you don't know if are needed and are not in the way of people sticking to your app.
Yeah.
So it's not how you build technical product. It's you iterate. You build a small part, you fix that problem, you add on it, you make sure that that's actually how that needs to be solved. So we're hoping that by us helping them, investing our time into this project, a new company, a new project is started that can hire our students into the future, and more companies are started and more folks are. So, our goals are perfectly aligned with what the founder's trying to do.
That's really cool. So I think a lot of people watching this would be like,
A lot of people watching this.
the 5 people who are watching, wow, that's impressive. Besides my parents, the other 3 would have this question, which is, I'm working some job to pay the bills. What do you mean? Like, grow at a human pace? Like, how do you afford it? Like, are you a rich kid? I know you're not a rich kid. Like, but how, talking to entrepreneurs like a student or graduating from school, like, does it apply to them? Like, how can they apply that? Or is it even applicable? Maybe this is bad advice.
Well, I think it comes down to putting pressure on the business, right? Like I I've I was consulting in it for most of the time with Get Coding. So Get Coding didn't need to make so much money to cover my salary because I was consulting.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't just jump in head first into something that I didn't know if it's going to work or not. And I know a lot of people will say, "Oh, you gotta commit and do that," and I sometimes say that too. But yeah, I had consulting to sort of lean back on if it didn't work. I don't know how realistic that is for someone with a 9 to 5. Then they need to be there 9 to 5. I don't know, but like I do think I was lucky with the steps that I took after, like when I was in university, to participate in a lot of the entrepreneurial stuff and build a name for myself as someone who, with the technical know-how that can build things. I think last 2 years of university, I paid myself by building websites, and I didn't have a job. And my dad did help pay for some of the university stuff, so I do think there is a bit of privilege there, that my dad was able to help me in the earlier stages. But while I was in university, I was super proactive. I took a lot of risks as a young person where I could afford to take those risks, and that compounded into perfect platform for me to go out and do things and sort of control it. Like, I want to work more on my startup now and less on consulting, or I want to pick up consulting now and do consulting, right? So there wasn't a plan.
Yeah,
it was just lucky that
human pace.
It sort of worked out that way. Yeah. I guess it was human pace.
You didn't force like a certain direction or.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. You mentored many people as an entrepreneur in residence. Roughly how many people?
Yeah.
Tens?
Yeah.
Thousands?
I would say it's definitely 100 plus. Yeah, definitely in the hundreds.
So so those are essentially early stage entrepreneurs, right? Very early stage, I guess. Yeah, super early. What are some of the trends you saw there with like the ones that maybe were doing something really wrong, or the ones that were doing something really right? Like any trends you noticed?
Yeah. I think a lot of people tried forcing it, that they want to be an entrepreneur and that the first idea is going to be their business. But is that a bad thing? Because my first business was a stupid idea. It was like an odd job marketplace.
I think everybody's first idea is just naturally a bad idea, probably. Especially if you're like 18 or.
Yeah. I don't know if there are any specific trends.
What was some of the really good behavior that stood out to you? Or let's talk about, okay, the ideas could be all very bad or very good, doesn't matter. Well, the things they could control.
Yeah, well, if they were there, the people that were committed to even a silly program that I was running, if they were there and they took it seriously, I'm not going to say because of my help that they went to all my sessions, but more so those people that were really committed to it did ultimately end up sticking with it more and building something, or getting further with it, or getting a good career. Whereas the other ones who weren't committed, who weren't communicative, who weren't showing up to the sessions, they never, you don't hear from them about them afterwards.
If you work on your startup, it will progress.
Yeah. Wow. You heard it here first, folks.
You have a question for me?
Yeah.
What's that?
Why are you doing this podcast?
Why am I doing this podcast? Honestly, it is so many people ask me. And the first person that asked me, I was like, oh, because I like it. I think I like the idea of having a podcast.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean? Like, what's the goal? I'm like, I don't know. I just like publishing stuff, my thoughts, or talking with people. It's already something I'm doing. Like, it's not so far from what I'm doing. and they couldn't take that. And like, you gotta have something.
Yeah.
It can't just be like,
Just because I wanted to.
yeah, but I just want to.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. Really, it is. I think the closest like thing for me is that I wish something like this existed, which is nobody's talking about the bad advice. If you go to YouTube, search like startup advice or YC videos, and they're great. But they're generic content. They're always the same. Oh, you raise this one. This is your hiring tactics. I don't know. Go to market strategy. They're always the same pieces of content. So if you watch just 10 of those episodes, you're done. There's nothing else. But I think value is created in the fringes. And I think every successful company you look at, they've done something that was really crazy. And if you go back in time and force the founders to be like, watch these 10 videos and do everything these 10 videos say, they would ruin their companies. I think that crazy things they did worked for a reason in their specific scenario, in their specific situation. So I think my goal with this is that, for people to see those, that oh, it's not crazy that you have these strong opinions on growth. Oh, it's, you have these strong opinions on HR, on hiring, on product development, whatever it is. And then they would have more confidence in their own choices of how they're running their companies. Because maybe the crazy thing they're doing is actually working really well.
Yeah. Cool. I like it.
Wow, that's kind of what I think about it.
Yeah.
Because the knowledge after, like, Netflix, there's Netflix HR book, it's very popular. But if you talked about that like 15 years ago, people would be like, that's crazy. And like, don't do that. Like, that's weird, right? But now it's just commonplace knowledge.
Yeah.
Because it worked and then they publish it. So hopefully they can get some of that out earlier.
Very cool.
Yeah. I have a question for you. The bad advice you have, which is, okay, grow your company at a human pace. Who would you say this advice applies to and who it doesn't apply to?
That's really hard to answer, I think. Like, from my perspective of understanding of how other businesses are ran, people who have, VC funding or have taken other people's money, they probably can't or shouldn't do that.
There's a timeline on
one,
so
yeah,
return that money.
Exactly. And like with a cash injection like that, like you raise money from an angel to get to a certain point, and that money is your runway, and that runway is limited. Therefore, you have to do something with that money.
Who does it apply to? Forget what doesn't apply. Who would you tell this advice to, maybe? Or at least,
people who might not feel like they want to do that VC startup route.
The grind, or
that grind, that glorification of the crazy work hours just doesn't appeal to them. But they still want to have, a creative and a business, a creative outlet, a business that, because working for themselves seems interesting. So bootstrap founders who don't need to grow a huge business. I think there is a limit to how big a business can be, being grown at a human pace.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
right. So, but if you're okay with just building something because you think it's important and it's good, and you don't need to be in that race. It's a pretty solid setup.
I would give that advice to all students. Because I feel like there is so much like media thrown at them that like, successful companies are like Facebook and Instagram and this and that are billion-dollar companies, right? And well, maybe one of those. I had this one student who had this hair product, and she was selling it online on Instagram, but people told her that, oh, this is not gonna be $1 billion business, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, of course not.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, but who cares?
Yeah. Yeah.
She's selling something, like,
Yeah.
you know. I think students are automatically pushed towards like the tech, highly scalable tech career, the tech company building.
Yeah.
I guess any first time founder building a tech company, think about if you don't really want to do $1 billion company.
Question the status quo of starting a business, that what people are telling you, it doesn't have to be that way, that you don't have to build it in a specific way. It's your fucking business.
Yeah.
It's build the business you want to run. Don't build something else that, you know, people tell you to run, or you know, is sort of set to be cool, or yeah, build the business you want.
And if what you want is $1 billion business that takes over the world, do not listen to Jan.
Yes.
Perfect. And if you listen to Jan and your business fails, sue him. That's okay.
No, that's okay.
Us.
This is not financial advice.
Do not listen to this. Is bad advice.
Yeah.
Do not listen to their bad advice.
Bad advice.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
I wanna give you some bad advice. You heard it right, bad advice.